He was just a man trying to forget, a man whose silence spoke louder than any storm. Folks called him Eli Ward, the quiet rancher of Devil's Hollow, a stretch of land so dry it could swallow a soul hole. For years Eli kept to himself, working the land that once belonged to his father, the only thing that hadn't left him. But that night, something did come back. Something that would burn through his heart like desert lightning. The wind carried a sound faint, trembling, almost lost in the distance. At first he thought it was just the coyotes. But then he heard it again, a woman's voice. Weak, broken, calling for help. He grabbed his lantern and rifle, the glow cutting through the night like a blade. Out by the dry creek bed, he found her, a young woman, no older than 30, half covered in dust and torn lace. Her eyes glimmered like wet glass in the moonlight. When she tried to stand, she fell back with a wince, clutching her thigh. Her lips trembled as she whispered, "It hurts." Down there, Eli froze. The words hit the cold air between them like a confession. For a moment he couldn't move, not out of lust, not even pity, but something deeper, something primal, a need to protect. He dropped his rifle and knelt beside her. Blood, not much, but enough to make his hands shake. She'd been riding hard, maybe chased. The leather on her saddlebags was torn clean through. Whoever did that, they weren't far. Eli carried her back to the cabin. The old place creaked as he laid her down by the fire, his hands rough, yet careful. He cleaned her wound with whiskey and an old cloth, trying not to look into her eyes for too longness that seemed to hold both danger and sorrow. She told him her name was Claire. She'd been traveling west with her husband until bandits came at night. They shot him, left her for dead. Somehow she crawled for miles until she found light in the distance, his light. But something in her story didn't sit right. The way she avoided his gaze. The way her fingers clutched that small silver locket around her neck like it held a secret. Days passed. Claire began to heal. The ranch, once silent, now echoed with the warmth of another voice. She helped with the horses, laughed softly at his gruff manner. Sometimes Eli would catch himself smiling something he hadn't done in years. Yet every night when the lantern dimmed, she'd stare out the window toward the east, as if expecting someone or something. Then one morning, Eli rode out to the canyon to check the fence line. When he returned, the door to the cabin was open. The bed empty, the locket gone. He tracked her through the sagebrush, following faint boot prints, until he reached the old well near the ridge. There, he found something that made his blood run cold. A dead horse, still saddled, branded with a mark he hadn't seen in years. A snake coiled around a cross. It was the mark of Samuel Creed, a name whispered in outlaw stories, a man Eli once called brother. Memories came flooding back, gunfire, betrayal, and the night his father died because of Creed's greed. If Creed was near, it meant only one thing. Claire wasn't who she said she was. She was bait. The sun fell fast, painting the desert red as Eli followed the tracks to an old barn half swallowed by sand. Inside, Creed stood waiting, his grin sharp as broken glass. Claire was there too, bound, gagged, tears streaking her face. Eli aimed his rifle, but Creed just laughed. "Still playing the hero, brother?" he sneered. "She told me you'd come. Women always know how to draw a man out." Claire shook her head desperately, muffled pleas escaping the gag. That's when Eli saw it, the bruises, the fear. She wasn't part of Creed's plan. She was the plan. The next few moments happened like lightning. Creed drew his pistol. Eli fired first. One shot, then silence. Creed fell, the desert taking him back. Claire collapsed into Eli's arms, sobbing, shaking. He untied her, whispered, "You're safe now." But she looked up at him, her eyes full of guilt. "I knew who you were," she said softly. "Creed said you'd never come for anyone again. I just needed to know if there was still a good man left in this world." Eli didn't answer, just held her tighter as the first light of dawn crept over the horizon. They buried Creed in the desert where no man would find him again. The wind sang low across the dunes, carrying the scent of dust and redemption. When Eli looked at Claire, he saw not the woman who'd lied, but the woman who'd survived. And maybe that was enough. She left a week later, said she had to keep moving west. Before she rode away, she pressed the silver locket into his palm. Inside was a faded picture of a little boy. "My son," she whispered. "He's waiting for me." Eli watched her disappear into the gold morning light, a silhouette swallowed by endless sky. For years afterward, he kept that locket on the mantle, a reminder that sometimes even pain can bring purpose. Even lies can lead to truth, and that no heart, no matter how scarred, stays cold forever. They say love in the Wild West wasn't about forever. It was about survival, about finding someone who made the silence a little less empty. And in the end, maybe that's all any of us are searching for. This was one of the untold tales of the frontier, a story of pain, redemption, and the fire that still burns in lonely hearts. If you felt this story, subscribe to Wild Tales Storytelling, where every whisper from the past still has a heartbeat.